160. He's gone.
What's up, guys? So today I'm going to be showing you how to hardwire a Cobra 840 dash cam. And so before we get started, let me just explain a couple of things, why I bought this camera. It was on sale for 80 bucks. You can buy Chinese versions of this for about $40 on eBay, but I went ahead and spent the money because the graphics chip in this is really good, the interface is really nice, the low light quality is excellent, and while it's not as good as, like, say, this GoPro, it's really good. It's so good, and the microphone in it is so good that you could actually vlog with this camera in a car if you really wanted to. Now, granted, you don't have a whole lot of settings or options, but it runs at 720, 30 frames per second, and I've used it to record people that came to my house, the transactions, stuff like that. It's really excellent. I really love it. However, it has one major flaw. This guy right here is what powers it. This is the cable that came with it. And usually stuff like this is designed around a 12-volt system. But even though this is a standard power connector, this whole assembly runs on 5 volts. So when I jumped it up into here thinking I was going to be real clever and sneaky, it didn't work. Because this is 12 volts, the rest of the car is 12 volts, and so forth. So I want it hardwired in so that when I turn on the car, it turns off, turns on. When I turn off the car, it waits 30 seconds and turns off. That feature is built in. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to come over here to the fuse panel on my truck, right in here. And what we're going to do is we're going to add a fuse to one of these that's on what's called switched power. Or I believe maybe even this green wire right here is already switched power. I'm not sure. But we're going to try to use the add a fuse. And what that's going to do is it's going to, when the ignition is turned on, it'll provide 12 volts. And I have a special box that I'll show you guys in a minute that changes 12 volts to 5 volts. And then we're going to run a wire all the way up here on the inside of the headliner down there to our camera to provide it with power. So let's go take a look at what I bought, which is a 12 volt to 5 volt adapter. I bought this guy, which is a Cobra radar detector hardwire kit. All it really does is it has the correct head right here, and it's got a fuse. We're actually going to cut this fuse out because we're going to use this guy. This is what's called an add a fuse system. So you stick this in place of the original fuse, you put one fuse in here that mimics the original fuse, and the second 12 volt circuit is here, and then you just ground it to the chassis. So I'm going to take my voltmeter, we're going to go over there, we're going to figure out exactly which fuse we need to add a fuse to and go from there. So to figure out what's going on, what we first want to do is you want to take and you want to jump your ground to ground so it's a little easier. And you take your voltmeter and you put it down and you go down here and you measure stuff, right? So like this is probably going to be hot all the time. So see, I put it right there, 12 volts. Whereas this green guy right here, that's switched power. So you can see it's 0, but if I put in a key, it goes to 12 volts. But we want to use the add a fuse kit, and so what you want to find is you want to look on your instruction manual here, and you see right here it says ignition 3. Anything that says IGN is usually going to be linked to the ignition, and it's going to turn on when you turn on the car. So what we're going to do is we're going to put our probe right here on, where is it? Sorry, right here on ignition 3, and you can see there's 0 volts. And if I put my key in, 12 volts. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to get another fuse and we're going to wire that in. So we got our grounded, oops, our 12 volts in. So you can see there's one fuse, there's 2 fuses, the fuse block is plugged in. Here's our guy running over here all the way up to the camera. So when we turn this on, boom, camera comes on. Okay, so on one of these GM trucks, first you lower the steering wheel, then you put in the key, shift this down into first, take the key back out, pop off all this trim, like that, and this way you should be able to thread the needle up here. So we want this to run up through here. Inside of that, now we can, where is it? Take this cover and test fit it back in its place. There you go. Looks factory. And then, where is it? Take this thing off. If I remember correctly, it just pops out. There it goes, yeah. Just like that. And you can actually see this wire runs all the way back to the dash. And we're actually going to follow basically the same outline. So here's another trick you can use. You can just take a piece of, this is like a hanger from something, some dry cleaning. Hook it up like that. And then attempt to fish it through. There we go. Just like so. Take the coat hanger out. And just like that. Just run it up here and underneath the headliner. So we're actually going to do, we're actually going to plug this guy in like that and then start stuffing it up underneath the headliner. And you want to be real gentle, especially on like an old truck like this one, because my headliner is, you know, kind of starting to fall apart and crumble. You can hear it a little bit. But if you're careful with it, you can very easily get it up in there. And there's like a lip, and you want it to be up behind that lip. And then you just leave it like that, because this is not something you're going to be plugging in, unplugging every day. And so then we can actually pull this back a little bit like that. Install this guy back in here. There we go. And then you can just take this excess wire and just tuck it in here behind the dash where it's out of the way. That way you don't have to worry about it damaging anything. Don't forget to pop your cup holder back in. And at this point, should be able to just reinstall this. This dash piece is always kind of a pain. Move that back up to where it's supposed to be. Put that right there. Turn that off. Now, if we turn on, boom. There goes our camera. Turns right on. Now we can reset that guy where it needs to be. Camera's still on and recording. Turn it off. Camera turns off. Take this junk, stick it somewhere, and just like that, hardwired camera, done.